Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. This is lunch and I'm going to be doing a reaction / commentary to my streamed match, day 2 match at Denver when I played against Candace and her Han red deck. You'll have to forgive a little bit of blurriness on it. It was a streamed game, so I'll call out which cards and stuff we used, don't worry. But I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was a really interesting match, and I had some really interesting thought processes while I was playing it that I think a lot of people kind of don't always think about while they're playing. I had to adjust my game plan mid-match, and that's something that not a lot of people think about doing. They think just, your deck functions one way, and that you're just trying to execute a game plan when a lot of times you can be doing other things. So we're getting into it here. I am on the play, and I play a U-Wing fighter. You'll notice one of the big risks I took here, especially against Han, is whether I want to play ground or space for first action. The scary thing about going space first action is if they have Millennium Falcon, piece of junk, they can just kill your unit right away, and you end up behind on tempo. Now, that isn't a huge problem if you're playing for the long game, because it takes them 2 cards to do that, right? They have to charge a card from their hand, which will get destroyed by Han's effect, and then they have to play the piece of junk. And they end up with a piece of junk on 1 health, which isn't like that impossible to get rid of if you have another space unit. However, in this first game, I went on my normal game plan of let's do as much damage as possible, let's try and get through this game. And you'll see here, I played a Fleet Lieutenant dealing 5 to base. This whole first game, I'm going to be sending most of my damage at base. I'm not necessarily trying to trade units and things. And the reason I was playing like that is because normally when you play Leia Lake, or honestly most Leia decks in general, you want to put as much damage as possible into their base. The idea is you apply pressure by dealing damage to their base, so they have to trade their units back into you instead of going into your base. Because if they just go base for base and try and exchange damage, you're going to win because you have more health and you're more action efficient. So usually on the last turn, you can output damage way faster than they can. So that's my game plan going into this turn, as you see. She came in, she traded down my Fleet Lieutenant, which is fine. Here we start off, we're putting more damage on base, just trying to get as far as we can there. And for this matchup, I hadn't had really any testing into Han red going. It's not like a super common deck. Usually you see Han green or Han yellow, which I did have playtesting again. So basically, in concept, I was like, alright, we'll just play this like it's a Han yellow. You notice one big thing there is I waited until she swung before I played my Sentinel, because I wanted to trade into the K2, not into the already damaged Cassian. So once she swung with that, I was free to play that Echo Base Defender. I know I see I'm in a pretty comfortable spot. We're basically even. This is really annoying though. I remember this play being really big because I really wanted to play my blue leader here. Next turn, it trades really well into all the units she plays on 4, because a lot of them have 5 health, but since she picked it, now I can't play it on this turn, or at least I can't play it and move it to the ground. That was honestly a huge swing in this game. And so now here we are, we're going into turn 5. This is normally the turn where Han flips over and they go up to 7 and play a big 7 drop. So I'm sitting here thinking, how can I get as much damage as possible in right away? And the worst thing that could happen for me here is if their Han 7 trades into my Leia, right? Because then I could get no damage, things like that. It would be really awful. So the reason I flipped Leia first there is because if I flip it first, she can't just immediately play a 7 drop and remove the Leia. If she wants to remove the Leia before it attacks, then it's going to be a lot harder for her to do so. So that's why we flipped first rather than swinging or something like that, or playing the wing leader first. You'll see she did get rid of it, but that's actually kind of okay because she got rid of a surprise strike in order to do it. That just takes away a lot of tempo, and that's a lot of reach that's gone. So I play the wing leader down, get my 5 damage in, and to be efficient, I have a 2-drop as well. Now, some people might say, well, the 2-drop is just going to die to an attack. But if you look, she either has to use a Han attack, which is 4 damage on base, so that's efficient damage-wise for the race, or she has to trade one of her bigger units into it, so it's actually fine to be there. Plus, since I have such fewer actions than her, there's a good chance I'll be able to attack with it next turn if she doesn't clear it. You see, she goes for big damage, she goes for the 6 with Han with the jump pack. So if you notice, this game has quickly become a race. We're both trying to tempo out and trying to deal enough damage to our opponent's base to kill them before not. And I'm currently even on the race. Actually, technically I'm up a damage. Even though I have 16 to 13, I do have 4 more health than her. And the way it is now, it's basically going to come down to the math on the last turn. She has a lot of like over-the-top and extenders built into her deck. Things like Hotshot Blaster and Surprise Strike and things like that. So this is kind of anyone's game at this point. And right about here is when I'm starting to realize that when I'm used to playing against Han green, Han yellow, I can outpace him and it's not really an issue. And that makes the matchup really good. But this red deck with the extra extenders with like Hotshot Blasters and Jetpacks and Cassian, like she has a lot more over the top that I'm used to. And I am actually starting to realize that going for a game plan where we try to race her down might be a mistake. You can see here that she is defeating her units, but she only has 1 card in hand. And that's something else I'm noticing in this game, is that for the entire game, she's basically had one or 0 cards in her hand. She's mostly playing stuff out of her resources with Smuggle, or like living with units on the board kind of thing. You see, I get my Rebel Assault here, which is a bunch of damage to base, and that was actually a major misplay, so I'm going to do a little math talk here. I'm at 16, which means she has to do 18 damage currently. She has, let's see, 6 plus 6. She has 12 on the board, so she has to find 6 damage somewhere. And in my head, I was thinking about how hard it is for her to get that much damage, right? And I put her here to 23, right? With the Wing Leader at 25, 1 attack is game. But if you think about it in another way, if I had Rebel Assaulted there, and so I'm with my 2 space units, she would be at 22, which is within range of, oh no, I guess it's 1 short of that. Basically, what it comes down to is Luke should have went into a unit here. Because if Luke goes into a unit and kills either Cassian or Kira, it basically makes it completely impossible for her to kill me on this turn. And I can just kill her next turn with Leia action. Because in my hand, you see I have other units that can go in and do enough damage. Especially with the Wing Leader swing here. So Luke should have went into a unit, and you're going to see I'm actually going to pay pretty dearly for that. But I learned some important lessons from this game. 1, I'm always going to have more resources than her, which is not the same for most decks. Han decks in particular tend to burn resources early in order to win the game late. And see, right here I think I'm good. I'm sitting at 28 damage. I'm like, alright, I got 6. She needs none of the like 1 card extenders that I can think of. Because if she had Surprise Strike, she would have just done it on the last attack. And I believe she's actually out of cards in hand right now. Yeah, that's correct. She's out of cards in hand. So I'm thinking, okay, well, she can't do 2 Hotshot Blasters. That's kind of like what I'm scared about. She could go Hotshot. But if she'd done that, she probably would have put 1 on the Cassian. But I missed the really, really obvious play. Which, let me tell you, when you're in big tournaments, sometimes you definitely do that. Of Kira swing plus another Cassian. And I don't even think about that. She's got the perfect amount of resources up. It should have been really obvious. Now, if I had swung Luke into one of her units, I wouldn't have died here, and I would have won first action next turn. But there we go, we see the Cassian, and that is indeed game. So I lose game 1. However, I really learn a lot from this match in a... And that's something a lot of people don't get in the middle of games. You should be learning stuff about your opponent's deck. So I learned that, especially some of the plays she made, like putting the jetpack on the Han and just swinging face, she really wants face damage. She doesn't want to trade units. She's going to try and race me every single game. So I think I have things on my deck that can actually play around that. If I can keep the damage low, I can probably win late game with things like U-Wing reinforcement, because she doesn't have anything like that. She has almost no advantage stuff built into her deck. Now you see again, so the first game, and I actually remember this, I actually got lucky she didn't have the piece of junk Millennium Falcon, because you notice I make the same play the second game. However, this time I remember I have more space units in hand, and now I'm not trying to go for face damage, I'm trying to go for trading, because I think I can outlast her, and I think I can heal through with Home 1. And so if she had played Piece of Junk, that actually would have been okay in this circumstance, because I had another space unit to trade evenly with it. And that's all I'm going to try to do. So if notice, I do make a mistake here. I put Chewbacca on this, which I shouldn't have done. I always forget that Bamboozle bounces upgrades. So you see here, I'm actually reading it. You know, it's always good when people are reading cards in day 2. I shouldn't have bothered to put the Chewbacca on there. I should have just extended more units. And I realized this immediately too, that there was, like, this was a massive, massive mistake. There's a large amount of universes where doing this play lost me the game. Now, the good news is, it stops her from playing a unit this turn, so it does slow her down pretty significantly. So while it was a misplay, it wasn't like... There's universes where I lose because of that. If she had, like, a way to play another unit that turn or something, there's a good chance I'd lose, but she didn't, so I was okay. And we're just going to do our normal plays. And you'll notice the other play I was going to make was Wing Leader, so Bamboozle would have kind of done the same thing in that circumstance. I would have just had another unit out. And here, this is actually really, really good for me. So she plays Waylay, which prevents some damage to my base, but now we're going into turn 5 and I only have 6 damage, which is really, really good for me. Plus, she's had to burn 2 cards out of her hand that were negative advantage. So if you look, I'm sitting on, I think, 7 cards in my hand, 6 or 7 cards. And she has maybe 2 or 3. So now I realize literally all I have to do is trade. I can just trade, and she'll run out of stuff eventually. Here we go, here's my turn 5 play, or 5 resource play of Blue Leader, which is incredibly good into Han, because they have a ton of things with like 3 attack, 5 health. And you'll notice I didn't get to do this last game because it got Kira'd. But now look, I'm sitting on a bigger board than her, way more cards in hand than her, and not that much damage on base. I haven't hit her base once yet, and we're on 5 resources. For a lot of decks, that would be a problem, like into a lot of matchups, but for what I'm trying to do, it's perfectly fine. And you'll notice I make a decision here. So they're going to get to go to 7 resources, and I want to trade. I could easily throw 6 damage on base here, but there's so many annoying things in Han that could actually kill Leia this turn, that I really want to be able to take that Han off the board. The other thing this is really good about is by attacking Han with Leia, I make it so Han can't trade into the Blue Leader anymore, because otherwise Han could trade into Blue Leader, have 1 health left, and it sticks around until next turn. Now if he wants to trade into Blue Leader, it actually dies. And here she has a big choice, so she plays the jetpack, and she could put 6 damage on base, or she could trade either one of my units, because it gives a shield. But that's perfectly fine for me. Like, did I lose a unit there? Yeah, but I don't really care, because once again, I'm trying to trade for units. She has 1 card in hand to my, like, 5. And when I only have 6 damage on my base, things like Cassian just they doesn't do enough. So she's taking some advantageous trades here. She's trying to kind of claw back some advantage. But honestly, at this point, I don't even care so much. Like, she has 6 damage on base. All I have to do is keep playing units. And she has like 2 cards in hand. So you notice like the feel of this game, right? It feels a lot different. There's no like desperate back and forth swinging. There's nothing big. And here's a good example of, by the way, why I put Strike True in. Sometimes you just need like 2 damage. And right there was massive. That prevented 6 damage onto my base and killed her leader. So now I'm looking extremely good. I know that she doesn't play any huge things like Crate Dragons. At least I assume she doesn't. To be fair, I don't know her list. But like, if she played Crate Dragon, she wouldn't have been playing like she was in the first game. So probably the biggest thing I have to worry about is like an Enfys Nest or like a 7-cost Han. Or her doing things like Surprise Strike. But like, it doesn't matter, right? That puts me to 12 damage. But that's not enough. Like, I still have so much health. And that's burning another card from her hand, right? She's now minus another card just to do 3 damage at a point when it doesn't really matter. There's K2. And here I'm considering, so I could play Leia, you can see it in my hand. She doesn't trade efficiently here, because K2 can technically kill her and stay alive at 1 health. But I want to force her to attack my units. Because if she doesn't kill Leia, then all of a sudden I've got Restores online, Leia trades reasonably well into Cassian. Like, it's just a really valuable unit when we're trying to go for advantage like this, rather than actually hitting their base. So we'll see what she does. And see, I think this is an interesting play. I'm not sure why she swung with the Cassian first. I guess maybe she's worried about... Well, I guess it makes sense if she's worried about Leia trading into it. But I'm really surprised K2 didn't just kill Leia. Because then she'd just keep both units. And it just seems like a better play in my mind for what I'm trying to do. It also could be the fact that she just wants the damage and she's trying to race me, but she's just in a really rough spot now. It's gotten to a point later in the game where I can start playing multiple things at once. I can start playing my bigger top-end cards. And she's going to have a really hard time just like actually doing much damage. You'll see I get a really nice Fleet Lieutenant there, but instead of going to base, we're taking out the K2. So that reduces 4 damage, plus Leia gets her Restore 1 on play. You'll see this would be a common play that I do later in the next game too, because I want to prevent... I want to trade up, so Fleet Lieutenant a lot of times is going to go into units rather than into like their base. Poe is scary. He threatens a lot of damage. So I have to quickly get that off the board. She claims, I hit for 2. And play more units. So you see, I'm kind of starting to take over the board now. Since I have so many cards than her, so many more cards than her, I can just kind of throw a bunch of crazy stuff on the board and there's not much she can do about it. We are sitting at 17, which is not low. And Poe represents, let's see, 8 damage, so that could put me to 25, which sounds scary until you realize I'm at 34, so she still has to do 9 damage after the Poe. And I have had that home 1 in my hand since turn 1. I kept it in my opener, because I know that getting a home 1 on the board essentially instantly wins the game for me. Because of the restore it allows. So you see, she's thinking, she's got 1 card in my hand to my 3. She's basically trying to consider here, do I just swing with the Poe? Or is there another play she wants to make? She's trying to figure out how to optimize her damage. And there's a jetpack. And at this point, I think I just kind of accept that, alright, I'm not going to be clearing the Poe this turn, but we need to be clearing other things and doing damage. So we put Home 1 in play. Puts Leia in play, which lets us attack with Luke and restore. So this is a big play. For those of you that don't know, when you play Leia, you get to pick a pilot or a piloted vehicle, and that allows for an attack with it with a +1 attack and restore 1. So we get that plus the extra restore from Home 1. So now I'm threatening like 5 health recovery this turn, which mostly nullifies the Poe damage. And I know I can't get through the Poe this turn either because of the shield from the jetpack. So if you notice, I'm going to make a really big important play here that a lot of people kind of forget about when they play this game. And I'm going to be claiming early. She's going to set, she's going to think. Damage goes into base. This kind of card, that's going to do 10. So now you notice I have a choice here. So I don't want to take another 8 damage next turn. I know she can't really do anything. She's on 4. She can't play another Cassian. So I just claim. I give up 3 restore and 8 damage so that I can have first action next turn. But this essentially wins me the game. From claiming there, she essentially can't win anymore because I can Leia action and attack Leia and Fleet Lieutenant into Poe and kill him because the shield leaves. So by claiming early there, even though I gave up so much, I essentially have sealed the game at this point. So one thing to think about when you're playing that is to keep in mind that sometimes you have to forgo some actions like that just to make sure you get to do what you want. So there's that. That restores 3. 1 from Leia and 2, 1 from each from Home 1. And now I'm at the point where I can restore 4 more. I have a bunch of damage on board. The game's basically over at this point. I mean, hypothetically, like another Poe could be scary, but... See, like, she taps the Home 1, but that doesn't matter. Like, there's a Sentinel that goes up too, so now she can't even get damage in with Echo. Here's Cassian, but like I said, honestly, it's mostly irrelevant. We're just going to keep throwing out units. There's a big Chewbacca. Clears that. And there's a point here where I actually consider claiming to do that same thing again, but I think I'm at low enough health, or have enough health left, where I can just take my extra restores and just be happy at this point. I'm now too far in front. And you see I miss another attack there. Well, not miss. I don't take an attack so I can claim. Because now this allows Chewbacca to take out Tech, which cuts her off from all of her smuggles, like all the free smuggle stuff. Because hypothetically, if she could keep smuggling from her resource, it's essentially the same as having a big hand. But by doing that, not only do I get the Home 1 swing and get 3 restore, but I also get to take out the Tech, thanks to Leia's action. And this game does go on for another turn or two, but it's essentially been over. The big thing about red-yellow is they don't have any way to get removal on big things, right? They can bounce them to hand with Waylay, or they can rest them, or they can like frozen and carbonite them to keep them rested, but they can't actually straight up destroy them. And bouncing Home 1 to hand is not good, because sure, you might avoid the 7 damage, but I'm just going to get to put it down again. I'm going to get to free play another thing. And here I show her, I believe she picks Riken. And I air superiority just to stop the damage. And then just keep swinging. But it is funny because the commentary people were talking in games, going into game 2, about how I really need to pressure and I need to get damage because I'm going to lose in the long game. But when it comes to Han Red, here she makes a slight misplay, you'll see. Not that it really matters. The game's essentially over and she recognizes it. She thought that would kill Chewie and it doesn't. because Chewie has 6 health. But yeah, the commentators were talking about how clearly this Leia deck is like an aggro deck and it needs to win fast, but if you have multiple modes in your deck, don't be afraid to switch it up mid-game and try a different strategy. Because a lot of times it can really throw your opponent off too. Yeah, she just scoops there. Let's go to game 3. Alright. So importantly, I know I've pressed my luck with her not having piece of junk opener in these last couple things. And I have, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ground. Just to kind of mix it up and keep her guessing. If you notice, I have a space and a ground in my hand. So I could go either way. Another thing I could do, too, if I really wanted to, it gives up priority or initiative, but I think that's okay, is after she puts resource down with her Han effect, I could play a just like pass on the turn and make her play a unit first so I know whether she's going to space or ground. And that's another way to kind of either match or mismatch. A lot of times when you're playing Leia, you really want to be able to control whether you're going space or ground, and it matters a lot on which one your opponent decides to go. Thinking. This last game does go a little slower if I remember correctly. Obviously it's a pretty high pressure situation, neither of us want to make a misplay. So here we go, I go ground this time, because I know that if she goes on a ground unit like this, at least I have a chance to do something first. Notice, interestingly, she soft passed, so she probably wanted to see whether I was going space or ground. I believe she did have the piece of junk this time, so if I had gone space, she would have just killed my unit. And you notice, I draw a really, really good draw here. I draw Fleet Lieutenant, and the reason that's so crazy is it allows me to trade into this DJ with my 2-drop, and that's a +1 trade, because remember, she had to put a resource down. So I've already gone up 1 in card advantage, and we have switched to playing a card advantage oriented game. So there's a little shielded guy. And here I'm going to make another really important play. So you might think, oh, we should just swing the Fleet Lieutenant into base because that's only a 2/2, like it can't kill our unit. However, there's a ton of things she could have in her resource right now that would allow her to trade up. The big one being Hotshot Blaster. If she Hotshot Blasters, that's now 4 attack going into my 3/3 with a shield. So I just lose my unit immediately. So I trade off the shield because now no matter what pluses she gives it, my Fleet Lieutenant trades evenly. And remember, we're trading, we're not going for base damage. Alright, she uses, I think, Electromagnetic Pulse, I think that's called. It just does 2 to a vehicle, which is fine. Like I said, we are completely okay with trading evenly. Even trades is what we want. We just want to keep damage off our base. We want to keep her ridiculous things off the board. And here is, yep, my favorite card in the deck. Blue Leader comes down, clears the tech. Now we don't have to worry about a weird DJ play this turn. And even better for us, she trades. We love it when she trades. Han effect, puts down, goes to 6. And you notice, I believe I pass here, if I remember correctly, because I want to get damage onto Han. I don't, like, 4 damage to the base doesn't do anything right now. There's no damage on it. I'd rather leave this up and be able to clear the Han next turn. And you'll see she even thinks about it. She knows what I'm doing, right? So she plays that, and now I think about it because now there's a bigger threat. That can kill Leia. So now I just take my base damage. Because if she claims now, it puts her in the driver's seat. Because Poe just one-shots Leia and I don't get anything for it. So she claims without flipping Han. which makes sense. She wants that initiative. She wants to kill Leia. Which, while annoying, like, I would obviously like to keep my leader, it's not the end of the world. If you look, she's at 1 card in hand to our, like, 5, I think. 4 or 5. So our game plan's going pretty well here. All I need to do is make sure I have U-Wings for next turn and things like that, and we're in a pretty good spot. So if she wants here, she could technically discard 2 cards with the Poe, kill blue leader and Leia in 1 shot. So she's considering whether she wants to do this. However, I believe it empties her hand. So, like, I don't really mind if she does that. That just puts her in a really awkward spot. Yeah, she has 2 cards. So if she wants to, she could swing on Leia, deal 2 damage, and defeat an upgrade, which kills blue leader. I have General Riken in my hand, I believe is the play I want to make this turn. So if that does happen, it's not the end of the world. It is annoying, though, because it means I'm going to have some suboptimal trades in my future just to kind of clear the Poe and stuff. Lots of thinking. I do want to take this time to thank Loopy is the one who's streaming this. So a big thank you to him because I would not be able to show you guys this match without it. And it was a really good match, too. I love this match. It was so back and forth. It was so well played by both players. Here she is. She's thinking. Discards the card. To do the full 8 damage. But like I said, like, sure, getting damage on base is good, but I've still got 24 health, right? So, like, I'm not in danger of dying anytime soon. And I have so many more cards than her at this point. 6, there's Riken. Giving himself Sentinel. So this makes it so the Han can't flip and, like, do something weird. Obviously, she's got to use it at some point. But it's, like, really something. Like, what does she do? Does she attack Riken? Like, take 5 damage back and not clear it? That's such an awful, like, play. But there isn't really much else to do. And if she wants her extra resource, she needs to do it. But you notice, like, when I built the Leia Lake deck, I did put it in mode in case we have to go late like this. I only had to use it a couple times. For the most part, we played aggressive. But having things like Riken, U-Wing, Home1 built in, and this is all main deck stuff too, is just really valuable. You see, my decision is, alright, we're just going to clear the Han. It's inefficient, sure. Like, I take a bunch of damage on Leia, and the Red 3 dies. Like, I could have put 9 to base there if I really wanted to, but I know that, like, my opponent can't do anything at this point. Like, 1 Poe is not going to get her there in time. And I believe I already have U-Wing reinforcement at this point. So, like, what does she do anymore? So she's not going to use 6 resources, 2 in hand. If she wants to play a 7, she has to go down to 1 card. So here's the Hotshot Blaster. And I'm going to force her to, I believe she clears the Riken here. Yep. But once again, I mean, that's fine. And then discards the card to kill Leia. Yep. So we've taken that big attack. Yep, we just drop U-Wing. And I believe I already have the Home1 as well here. So she just put all those resources into killing Riken. And I just topped another one with my U-Wing. So, like, there we go. Just so much advantage. Gave itself Sentinels. This locks any weird shenanigans. And even better is, I have a Fleet Lieutenant in my hand right now. So if she doesn't clear Riken, if she, like, decides to go to base or something, Fleet Lieutenant on R2 actually kills Poe. And that would probably just end the game. This is her 2nd Poe. She'd basically need a 3rd Poe. And I don't even know if she plays any other top end stuff. Like, I haven't seen a bunch. I think afterwards I talked to her and she did play like a few Enfys, but that was kind of it. So she has a choice here. Like, she trading into R2 does nothing. She could clear Riken, but that kills Poe. Like, that doesn't actually help our win. At this point, I actually think she does have to just go base and hope. Essentially, the game's kind of over, though. There's not enough damage on my base, and I have way more cards than her. And yep, you can see the home 1 in my hand. So I could also put home 1 down this turn if I want to. I don't remember if I have a Fleet Lieutenant in discard at this point or something. Because that would obviously be the ideal play. It would be home 1 into Fleet Lieutenant and clear the Poe. And get your restore. She thinks about it a while. I think she's trying to consider whether killing Riken here is correct. Because obviously, like, at some point she's going to have to deal with Riken, or it's just going to keep giving itself Sentinel over and over again. Alright, so there we go. Final decision, 8 to base. Puts me to 18. Immediately slam home 1. Play Fleet Lieutenant R2, swing into Poe, kills Poe, restore 1. And that essentially ends the game. Okay, R2's dead. Send my 1-drop into her 2 cards plus 6-drop. And there's not much he can do anymore. I found home 1. She taps the Riken, that doesn't matter. I get my thing. Waylays the thing, but like, that's not even good, right? I'm just gonna play it again. And I get my on play every single time, so like... I don't have another Fleet Lieutenant, so my home 1 effect isn't going to be as crazy. As you see, I actually just do my attack first here, because I want to set up my Sentinel and clear a board. I don't get restore off the attacks now, but that's kind of fine. Here's attack. I know that's something I want to get rid of very quickly. And I believe actually here I'm considering just claiming. Because, like, I'm at 16, I don't need the home 1. And tech could hypothetically cause some weird problems. I do decide just to play the home 1 again, though. And there isn't anything to play, so I'm just going to throw a unit in. Excuse me, sorry about that. She claims. Doesn't really matter. This game's over at this point. I have a big board. I'm threatening 5 restore right now, which is like more than she can even do on her turn. And she's gonna start running out of health too. Like, home 1 swings for 7. It's gonna run you out of health very quickly. Yeah, this run was pretty crazy. I had a very good time at Denver, and this isn't entirely representative of how the deck always plays. You know, the first match is definitely more indicative of a lot of my games over the course of the tournament. But there was a couple times where, yeah, you have to go for like control with your later end pieces. She does have a few cards in hand now. She's gonna tap down home 1. Doesn't get rid of the restore though, and that allows me to take out her tech. I notice I get these nice little massive attacks in. I'm always double attacking with Leia whenever I can. That's another mistake a lot of people, they gotta factor that in when you're planning your turns. You should be using Leia as much as possible. And there we go, she scoops it up. Because she knows, like, obviously, like, the game technically isn't over, but there's no way she comes back from this. She doesn't have ways to clear home 1, and it's just going to keep coming down. Riken's out. She can't sneak damage through. And yeah, that was round 10, my streamed match versus Han Red. It was a super great match. Candace did amazing. Going to game 3 was insane. But I really wanted to do a commentary just to show how like changing your strategy up mid-match can really make the difference sometimes. If I had chosen to try and aggro her out every game, there's a good chance I would have lost, because I would have had to win that race twice in a row, and I couldn't get there. So like, it makes it a lot harder to get there twice in a row, especially after misplaying game 1 with that Luke attack and not like correctly doing what I should have. So I'm really happy I got through. I ended up losing the next round, sadly, and missing top 8, but it was pretty great. And yeah, let me know what you think about this commentary. If you want me to do more matches like this, I'd love to.